Everybody, I'm going to pass the mic to Tanner. He's got a very special presentation for us. So, one more time, give it up for the strong trader, everybody.
Thank you, thank you. So, for those of you that don't know me, my name is Tanner Owings, aka the Strong Trader. And I want to say first and foremost, thank you all for coming, because in-person trading events are so unique. I go to a special one every year called Traders for a Cause. It's one of my favorite ones. And the ability to network and talk to people in person is something a lot of us don't get, like ever. So I'm telling you right now, if you leave this weekend and you don't have like phone numbers, Instagrams, you've made friends, you've tried to talk to everyone, you're fucking up. Because like that is the whole point of this as well. Obviously we're trying to learn stuff, but the ability to network, your network is your net worth, right? It's like, it's important. So make sure you're doing that, put yourself out there because it's worth it. So let's get into it. The commitment to consistency in your process will determine your progress. I know that's a mouthful, but there's a reason for it. So first, disclaimer, trading is hard. If you didn't already know, trading is really hard. Like for real, this shit is hard, okay? Don't let anyone ever tell you otherwise, because trading is hard. It's always difficult. It does get easier over time because you have more of understanding, but it's still hard. You want to make doctor or lawyer money, and I say that because obviously, you know, we have the ability to make 200 grand, 500 grand, $1 million, even more than that with time, but the big thing is the learning curve. And a lot of people seem to forget that doctors and lawyers go through shit tons of schooling before they start operating, before they actually start working and doing the thing. Traders have no barrier to entry. You literally open a brokerage account, open a prop firm, and you go. And so you have to lose money in order to figure it out, and that is like what it actually takes. So as a reminder, like I said, it's hard, and don't forget that. So, who am I? My background. So we're actually just going to talk about squat, bench, and deadlifts this entire seminar. I'm going to teach you the mechanics behind it. No, I'm just kidding. So, I'm a competitive powerlifter. For those of you that don't know, powerlifting is the sport of squat, bench, and deadlift. You total your 1 rep max between all 3 lifts, and you go against other people in your weight class. I lift heavy shit all the time. It's what I like to do. I don't know why, it's what I've chosen to do. I've been lifting for over a decade, about 14 years actually consecutively. I've never taken more than a 2-week break. That is my flex. But it is just part of who I am. It's what I do. It's ingrained in who I am. I've been competing in the sport of powerlifting for over 8 years. So I've done I think 14 competitions now. I have done a national ranked one. I unfortunately am just still not one of the GOATs, but it is something I love, and I always come back to it because it is a way for me to push all of my work that I've put in and kind of see what I get out of it. So I've been trading full time for over 5 years, specifically trading options in the beginning of my career, recently moving over to futures in the back half of it. And my whole goal is to connect the understanding of process. I've learned a lot of process from lifting because me getting strong has not happened by thinking, oh, I need to deadlift 700 pounds. I need to squat 600. It's been like, okay, what's the day-to-day work required? Oh, the outcome is I'm getting stronger. Let's start to kind of test this and push it. So my whole philosophy behind the brand, Strong Trading, is the process, understanding process and how to kind of bring all these processes I've learned from gaining strength and muscle over to the trading side of things. So, got to put up the stats, right? A lot of fooders out there. I have definitely made well over 6 figures trading in over 5 years. Tons of payouts. One of the best ones, Tradify, $15,000. You know, this is from my options account, a little over $130,000. Top set payouts, Tick Trader, they're trash, don't use them. Take Profit, still need to get a top 1 payout, it's coming soon. These are majority prop firm profits. On TradeZella, I switched over to TradeZella about last year. It's a better journaling software. And I'm going to get into journaling and kind of going over all that stuff, but these are some of my stats. So I do own a brand called Strong Trading. We do focus on one-on-one coaching. Shout out Lawrence in the room. He is also a coach. I've coached over about 100 traders now, I'd say. And some great success stories, honestly. One thing I do love about one-on-one coaching, and it's really funny because people always ask, they're like, why do you coach if you're trading? I'm like, well, who else is going to teach you shit, right? And I come from the fitness background, personal training background, so it's like, I know it feels good to help people get in shape, feel better about themselves, so it also feels really good to help people make money. Like this, it feels good to do it. Honestly, it does, and it's rewarding. Last week, I had one of my clients, Vale. She's a single mom, works at Starbucks, and she just took her first payout with Top One, $5,000. And yes, incredible. Shout out Vale. And to hear that, like she literally messaged me and was like, I'm crying, I can't believe it. Like, oh my gosh, like that's like how much she makes in like a whole month at Starbucks, right? And like she's been grinding at trading and like pushing it for years and like finally starting to see her like come out the other side. That feels really rewarding for me and then obviously for them as well. So these are just some examples of some student success stories. You know, you can see a bunch of payouts here. This one's from Brian right here, 1,300. Brian's in the room too. Brian's a man. Woo! So really cool there. One of my biggest flexes now. Some of you probably heard the Minbeer story. He recently just took a $2.4 million payout with Apex. And it's so funny because I got all these people asking, oh, you know, what's the magic thing? I didn't teach him anything magic. He just literally finally got disciplined from the processes that we teach. And that is really, again, what I want to talk about on this presentation is the process, understanding that. But shit's possible, guys. Like, this is possible. This is someone who, like, lost a bunch of money trying to learn how to trade and just stayed consistent. And finally, you know, it paid him big. So pretty cool there. So there's me lifting some weights. Let's talk about it. Process, progress, consistency. So I know I have some muscle now, but I actually used to be really skinny. I was 135 pounds before I started lifting weights. I'm 235 now, so I've gained 100 pounds for reference. So, and I didn't do that, you know, just in a little bit of time. Like, it's been over a decade since I've like gained all that muscle and strength, but I've been consistent, right? Like, I didn't go from deadlifting 300 pounds to 700 pounds overnight, like, and I was never fixated on that specific number. It just like over and over, I was just like lift, sleep, eat, keep doing the thing, and then eventually it all comes together. So I've accomplished this through two main areas: process and consistency. So let's get into it, the process. So first, let's ask, what is the word process, right? Like, what is this concept? It's really important. I actually have it tatted on my wrist. Can't see it, but it's there. But process is the idea that we're following basically a series of calculated steps in order to achieve a desired outcome. But we're not focused on the outcome. We're focused on the steps it takes to get there. And as a competitive lifter, I've always run programs. So basically, when it comes to gaining strength, you go through these things called like macro cycles. And in these cycles, you end up going through blocks of training. And your training is going to be set up in this like format where you have like a certain amount of sets and reps prescribed to you, and you just follow the work day to day. You have a process of doing it. So I have days where I'm like, oh, maybe I feel so good. I want to lift as heavy as I can. But I can't because my program tells me to hit 4x4 80% of my 1 rep max that day, and that's what I have to do. So it's like, I know from trusting this over time, though, I eventually get to where I need to be. So this idea of like, kind of just like, fuck what you're feeling, follow the process, like that is what is ingrained in me, and that is how I understand this concept of process. So, like I said, even though I'm not pushing to hit that 1 rep max, I know the process of following my prescribed program over a 12-week period of time will lead to this desired outcome of getting stronger overall. So I've gone through this so many times, right? Like I said, I've been competing for 9 years. I've done over 13, 14 powerlifting competitions. There's so many times when I'm getting really close to my meet, and it's peak week or it's a week before, and I'm like, oh, I feel like shit. I don't know if I can do it. I don't know if I can do it. And one of my first coaches told me, he's like, you just have to trust this process, that it's all gonna come together. And still to this day, I'll get close to my meet and I'm like, I'm so weak. It's not gonna work. I'm gonna have a shitty meet. And then all of a sudden, I trust the process, I reduce fatigue, I feel better, I go into the meet, energy's there, everything, boom, I perform. It feels good. So I've just gone through this so many times that I understand following the series of calculated steps eventually leads to this outcome that you do desire, right? So what does this mean for traders, right? You're like, all right, I'm not talking about the weights, bro. Like, we're here for trading. What does process mean for traders? So traders were often so fixated on our P&Ls, right? Oh, I need to make this much money. I need to do this. I need to do that. We're so fixated on these P&Ls that we act on emotions most of the time, right? Instead of like, what's the process of what I should do, right? What's this scenario? What do I do in this type of scenario? Like, we are so fixated on the emotions to chase this magic number on the screen. And while it's hard, because we do have this big scoreboard, right? We have this huge scoreboard kind of telling us, this is how you're doing. This is how you're performing. But when we start to look at processes and put processes in place, we can actually start to break it down and try to figure out how to respond in these types of scenarios and situations. So, example, I took 3 losing trades in a row. I'm really close to my max daily loss. I'm emotionally frustrated. Who's been there? How many of you have taken multiple trades in a row? You're really frustrated. You're like, oh, fuck, I just want the money back, dude. And you get there, and you're so frustrated because you're just focused on those emotions. And so all the logic goes out the window. And then I guarantee you hit your max loss or whatever, and then later in the day, you're driving or something, and then you're probably yelling at yourself, like, you're an idiot. Why can't you just stop? Like, it just makes so much sense. Just stop. It's like we all run on like adrenaline and fight or flight, and it's always the same fucking story every time. When you're in your logical state of mind, you go, I should have done X, Y, Z. Yeah, of course, I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna do that next time. I'm gonna do that next time, for sure. But it's like in the moment, it is really hard because emotions take over. And that's what happens when we're so fixated on those and focusing on them. So this business is a probability-based game. I love this. Lawrence always talks about this. He goes, it's all probabilities, bro. It's all probabilities. And it is, right? Hit rate, win rate, like R multiple, all that type of stuff. It's all based on statistics because, newsflash, you're going to lose a lot, all the time, and it sucks. But it's part of the process. Like you have to understand, taking losses is just what we do. It's what happens. So process is what can protect us and allow us to stay in the game for a longer period of time. So, process-oriented trading, right? What is process-oriented trading? Having guardrails is the first thing. And this is why I brought this up in the beginning, right? The lockout feature. Having guardrails to protect yourself. Funny story, when I traded options, I used to trade on Thinkorswim, and I also had a TradeStation account. I went through so many different brokers trying to figure out which one I liked. And I remember I had a max loss in the day. I was like, okay, my max loss then was $300. So I only can lose $300 a day. That's the max loss. You know how many times I broke that? You know how many times, my second year, I remember I added up every single day that I went past a $300 loss. And who can guess how much money I would have saved if I just respected that one rule? Guess, throw out a number. More. It was $50,000 in my second year of trading. I was like, holy shit, this statistic of this one thing would have made me extra 50 grand by just respecting this one rule. So I remember calling all the brokers. I called Thinkorswim. I'm calling TradeStation. I'm like, can you guys put a lock on my account to stop me if I hit this? Because I'm just a fiend, going after it. And they're like, nah, we can't. And I'm like, all right, cool. I'm just going to go blow another 5K in a day. So the beauty is a lot of us now in the prop space, trading futures, we are so lucky to have something like this because this is literally the answer most of the time to your ego, to your greed, to everything. The lockout feature. And this is a process where simply all you can do in the beginning of the session, set the lockout on your risk settings. So I don't know if you guys are aware of this, but you can literally lock out the actual risk settings itself in Project X, in top 1. So you go to the risk settings and you can lock it out for the day. So let's say you have a $1,000 loss in the day. So you can click liquidate and block. And then also at the very bottom, it says lock out risk settings. You click that and the risk settings are locked out. So if you're down 900 and then all of a sudden you're like, oh shit, I'm $100 away from a max loss. And you're like, I'm gonna change it to 1,200, right? I'm gonna change it to 1,500, Okay, 2K, that's it. 2,500, no more. right? Boom, 37.50, you were fucking done. And you all know it. You've all been there, right? So this is a process where like literally in the morning, you could set this lock on your wrist settings to fully protect you. And when it comes, guess what? Yeah, you go, shit. But you just screwed up for that specific little instance. That's it. And then when you're back in your logical state of mind later, you go, damn, I'm really happy I only lost $1,000 today. Like that could have been really bad. And now you have, if it's a fresh account or something, you got 5 more chances, bro. You're good. Like it's like, so that is one thing of process that we can do is create guardrails, right? Set those types of boundaries. So it's not just about protecting the downside though, right? Another potential process is like, how are we creating profits, right? How are we scaling out of trades? So process-oriented trading means maximizing winners, cutting losers. Example, your trade runs into target 1. You sell everything there, and this is gonna be contrary to actually to what Austin kind of talked about earlier, but the beauty of trading is everyone has different styles. You sell everything at target 1, but then it continues to run 3 times your target, right? This is literally actually today's chart. I just threw this in here. I needed to add one more slide in, so I was like, perfect. So long here, like let's say I covered everything into there. I didn't actually trail it this perfectly or do it exactly like this, but this is the idea of if you took it all off here, you lost out on another 100 points of the move. But if you cover some here, cover some here, cover some here, you're maximizing more of the gain. So you have a process and a system to do that. And you can go about this by like trailing your stop, right? A simple way to do it, a lot of people do on momentum-based play, is just the prior low of the previous bar. So like let's say you are long from here, any bar low that isn't taken out technically wouldn't take you out until right here, right? Because this breaks this previous bar low. So that is one way to potentially maximize more profits, is to create a system and a process-based system of taking profits. And you could do this a bunch of different ways too. I've heard of like 50, 30, 20 is actually a really good one. Take 50% off into target 1, 30% off into target 2, 20% potentially to run and trail, whatever you want to do. But that is another process-based way to maximize those gains. And like I said, it's not just about protecting the downside, also trying to like maximize the winners. So as traders, like I said, we need to have a system of what to do when things are working and a system of what to do when things aren't. So be wrong quick. That's why I showed you guys earlier. Like I take those quick little losses and I have a lower hit rate, but I will have a high R multiple because I will let them work when they actually work. So the more you can create processes behind like how you enter, how you exit, how you scale, all that type of stuff, this takes time for sure, and it takes figuring out what works with your psychology as well. And it's like, it's not a one size fits all. And this is why I do love trading so much, is because it's so unique for everyone. You have to figure out what works for you. Don't let anyone ever tell you like it has to be like this, it has to be like that. One thing I got from the powerlifting side of things is the concept of like squatting or bench pressing or deadlifting. Ironically, whatever you've been told, there is no perfect way to squat, perfect way to deadlift, perfect way to bench press. It's all based on how you're built, your anatomy, your leverages, your weight, like so many different variables. So it's like someone that breaks with their knees initially on the squat, another person can break with their hips and they're like much stronger in that position, but that works for them. So that's why too, I like to tell everyone, like trading is something for you to figure out what works. Find mentors, find people that like influence you in a good way, that create good systems where you're like, oh, okay, this kind of makes sense. I'm gonna keep trying this and do that. But creating these types of processes take time, but you have to create them because that's gonna kind of systematize it and make it more of a business and you'll understand it more. So another thing, like we're all prone to, this is my account, by the way. No, I'm just kidding. So is process focus versus P&L focus. So traders were often victims of looking at how we make progress simply just by our profit and loss, right? It's the giant scoreboard. I get it. And you're like, oh shit, I'm down X amount of money. Like this is awful, like whatever it is. But when it comes to big picture, being process oriented, we need to be able to understand that we can measure progress through like tons of different ways besides just looking at P&L. And I know that seems hard and like it doesn't really fully make sense. But a great example is maybe you have one bad, okay, here's a good example. You have one bad habit of always trading the open. You're a gunslinger, right? At 9:30, 15 full-size NQ contracts off the rip, right? You're a gunslinger off the rip. But you've noticed through your data that you're like, oh, dude, if I would just wait 20 minutes, 30 minutes for like the opening range of set, I would avoid all these garbage trades. So let's say you make it a goal to not trade the first 5 minutes for the week. And let's say you hit that goal, but let's say you still had like multiple red days in a row, and on that last day you're nice and green. Overall, even though you might be slightly red on the week, you're making progress towards building better processes, towards building better habits, because you have identified something in your trading that is not suiting you or hurting you, mainly hurting you. And you are taking a process-oriented approach in order to change that and fix it. So the more we can kind of recognize these things and implement these types of systems, that is how we actually are making progress. And then eventually, like I said, the outcome will follow, the P&L will follow. It just takes time. And one thing I have wholeheartedly believe is literally you can do anything you want in this world if you don't fucking quit. Like literally if you just don't quit. Like it just takes time, guys. Like trading is, whether you guys realize it or not too, you're all entrepreneurs. Trading is an entrepreneurial endeavor, and entrepreneurs eat shit. We fail, like we lose, it's part of what it is. So, but if you don't quit and you keep going, like I promise you, it's like, I always say this, it's never a matter of if, it's just a matter of when. So, I kind of talked about this already, but like the idea of like, you have 3 red trades in a week, they're all small, maybe they stay within your guardrails, what you had, but then on like those last 2 days, they're big green, right? They make up for all those losses. That's why too, like when you see people with like, oh, I've had so many red days this month, but they're green overall, or like they actually, solid green month, that's fine. It just depends how you stomach it personally. Like you can have, like I said, 30% win rate, 40% win rate, but I know a great trader, Carmine Rosado, I don't know if any of you guys seen him, I think it's Investor Trade or something like that. He posts months like this sometimes where he's literally like 35% hit rate, but then the dude drops 90K in a month. And I'm like, okay. So it makes up for it because he understands overall, if he's following his process, like he will be green overall. So again, focusing on the process of like, okay, I would, the max loss is another good example. Hit my max loss, damn it. Hit my max loss, damn it. Hit my max loss, damn it. Next 2 days, really fat green, and then you're green on the week. So it's like, yeah, it's frustrating to stomach that, but it's better than blown account, damn it, reset, blown account, 2 blown accounts. Okay, here we go. It's that's what it's about, is understanding that like we need to measure progress in this different way. So trader not focused on process may try to force a green day on any of those small red days, and you actually end up causing it like a 3 times bigger loss than it actually should be. So perspective matters, right? We need to remember that the market can reward us for bad behavior. And this is like the worst thing, the worst thing, because you guys all know it, you've been there. You go, okay, I'm not gonna take any more trades, I'm done. And then the little demon in you comes on the side and goes, take one more, do it, take one more. And you take one more, and then you just rip a fat green day, and you're like, see, told you. But then that happens again later, and you're fucked. Because it's like it doesn't work over and over again. Eventually, you will have a time where you get hit and it doesn't work. So just because we climb into that sticky situation once or twice does not mean it's the right thing to do in the long run. Building habits, like we internalize these things. We internalize justifying with ourselves why this is okay or not. And the more you get used to being like, hey, it worked last time, I could do it again, I promise you there will be times where you blow up and it hurts a lot. So we need to start measuring, making progress at how well we are respecting our process and keep the big picture in mind. So a big part of trading and getting better is confidence. Confidence, right? How many of you have taken a trade where you're like, it's planned out, you see it, you execute, it fucking whips perfectly, it does exactly what you want it to do? How many of you have done that? Good. So that feels good, right? It's like empowering. You're like, oh shit, I got it. I can do it. And so when you follow process, you remain in control. And being able to be in control, I can't tell you now especially, I'm almost 6 years into this. And my one and done days where I take one trade and I'm done, I'm like, oh, this is the best day ever. Like, let's go. I don't have to sit here. And so that's why when I was sitting in the back kind of watching a bunch of you, I was like, you guys are just all getting after it right now, okay? I get it. It's exciting. Like, you want to take trades and stuff like that, but like, the one and done mentality, building confidence is huge as traders. Confidence leads to conviction, in our trading. And the more conviction you have in your trading, the more, just more confident you are, the more money you're gonna make overall. So this lets us build into the traders we want to be and we need to be. So how do you build consistency, right? Probably a great, great topic to talk about. So it's in the day-to-day work. And this is literally what we teach at Strong Trading is the day-to-day work. And it is incredible how many traders are so lazy and just don't do enough. They don't want to journal, they don't want to review, they don't want to do pre-market prep. And I believe there's 3 things that you have to do pretty much just every day. I do this every single day. I'm not perfect also. I have days where sometimes I won't do it here and there. But I'd say 90% of my entire trading career so far, I've done pretty much these 3 things all the time, and they have led to that confidence, to that consistency. First one's pre-market prep. So if you're not sitting there making game plans before the open, you're throwing a dart at the wall and seeing if it sticks. It's like, what's a scenario, right? Create if-then scenarios. If the market does this, then I'm gonna do that. If NQ rips through 20,000, then I'm gonna look for longs into 20,100, right? So creating game plans before the open in those types of scenarios for the trading day helps us build these plans to be okay, I followed it, right? I know what I'm looking for. And there's times you're gonna write out a plan, the market just does completely the opposite. And you sometimes do have to kind of go on the fly and be okay, how do I call my audible here, right? How do I make changes? So I'm not gonna read all this, but this is an actual example from one of my pre-market plans. And one of the things is you could see there's, right, if then scenarios, if right here, if somewhere then, but basically if then, it's that's what we're looking for overall. The day-to-day work. First thing is pre-market planning. Second thing, it is incredible how many people don't journal. It's insane. What grinds my gears so much, people are oh yeah, I journal. I'm okay, can you show me an example of your journal? Yeah, I got long here and then I closed it here and I was kind of upset. What the fuck did you learn from that? What does it teach? You don't know anything about what you're actually doing. You're just word vomiting on paper. So there is a method to the madness when it comes to journaling, I believe in personally. I believe there's journaling for individual trades, which is the way to actually break down what's the setup, right? It's a pullback to VWAP setup, okay? How did it look? Well, we pulled back into VWAP after 10 a.m., had a nice signal bar, we bounced, I got long, I set my stop right below the signal bar, I aimed for a retest of the highs. That's an individual trade review because that's a specific trade you're taking. Maybe it's a daily support buy setup and you're okay, I bought support on the daily and I'm looking to target the recent highs, something like that. So individual trade review is the first thing. Second thing is for those psychological components. So it is important to talk about what happened during that day, right? Because a lot of traders, we carry a lot of baggage. We have my shit going on in our life and maybe you're breaking things down. You're I just didn't perform well today. Why? What happened? Well, my girlfriend broke up with me yesterday. And it's my head's all heavy because of it. Oh, well, there you go. That's why, right? My house caught on fire yesterday. So it's it's a crazy example. But the idea of psychological components, there is reasons that life impacts us and we do certain things and make choices and decisions. And when we don't take time to review and look at why did this happen? Was I in an altered state of mind? We could see that our setups are actually there, but we're just not performing because we have other shit and baggage kind of going on that's making it heavy in our lives. So psychological components is the second part of journaling. Finally, this last one, this is the sauce for you, okay? If you leave with anything from this whole conversation, it's this. Documenting the easy money trade setup of the day. So what you're gonna do is I think Austin calls it chart markups. You're basically gonna take a chart. I didn't take this trade specifically, but at the end of the day, I rip through the charts and I look and I'm what was the easiest money setup for my trading system, setup, strategy, process, whatever it is, that makes sense to me that I can mark up here, right? I'm not looking at small caps and being oh yeah, that one went to the moon, I should have got that. It's I don't trade that. It's what do you trade, what makes sense? I trade a lot of pullback to VWAPs, like I said. So here, this is a great example. This was an easy money setup for me on this day. VWAP is this purple line, we get a retest of it, we get a rejection. We have a nice signal bar here, a bearish engulfing bar. News pushes us into VWAP. We reject. I get a clean area to get short. I get short right here. My stop is right here above the highs. Very, very clear. As we kind of ride down into target 1, I'm covering most, and then I would probably trail accordingly depending on, the setup and whatever it is. But to my eyes, when I'm going back in the charts that day, I'm looking at what was the easy money setup for my system, right? Because you should have a bread and butter setup that you're looking for almost every day. And for me, this is it. So I literally go through the charts, I rip through it, I annotate up, what is it, what am I looking for? And I do that. And honestly, the way I finally got decent at trading futures was I did this exercise every single day for an entire year. Literally, I have a log of it. It's an entire year, and it's just like ripped of it. I've showed some people it, and they're like, holy, I remember I first showed Lawrence it, and he was like, holy shit, dude, this is like, he's like, this is what it is? I'm like, this is what it is. And so then Lawrence started doing it, and Lawrence started ripping it, like Lawrence crushes it. So this exercise is so, so beneficial. I know some people want to be like, oh, this is hindsight. But the thing is, it's like a form of backtesting, because once you come to this in the moment, you're going to see this shit get tested, and you're going to be like, okay, cool. Like, this is what I'm looking for. Let's see if it reacts right. Okay, cool. I have a signal bar. And you take the trade, and guess what? If this doesn't work, it's not a bad trade. It is my setup, because sometimes it's just not going to work. It just sometimes won't. But when I see this, I'm going to take this every damn time, because I know, based on me documenting and doing this stuff, that it works for me and my system. So easy money trade setup of the day, great exercise, do it. Finally, the daily report card. So this is a really unique tool, because it depends on, there's so many versions of it out there. I have a version that kind of walks you through your entire day. I tell my traders, like, oh, it's going to hold your hand through the trading day. You're going to have like a pre-market section, you're going to have an intraday section, you're going to have after the close reflection section. And the idea behind this is all focused on habits, right? What habits are you trying to focus on? For me, it's like respect the daily loss limit, stay in control, trade your edge, walk away if it's hit, no trades till this time, 3 trades per day, only trading my specific setups, pull back to VWAP, a key level, or near-term volume point of control. Trade location, right? Where is the risk? Kind of like I showed you guys earlier today. Where is my risk, right? Trade location. I'm not trying to enter the skyscraper and be like, okay, my stop is, negative 3R. Let's see if it goes higher. It's like, where is it? So intraday, I love doing this part of it, because basically I'm checking in with myself. I'm trying to see, like, how am I feeling, right? What's going on? I have alarms go off where I'm like, okay, how am I feeling after the open? And these are so many scenarios we run through, right? Maybe you saw your setup at the open and it ripped, and you're like, oh, I got FOMO, right? Maybe I would write here, FOMO, saw my setup go, wasn't involved. But the idea is that's me being objective and being like, okay, I just saw my setup go, I have FOMO, I don't want to do something stupid. So I'm checking in with myself and doing actions like this. So again, I'm focusing on just habits right here. Like, this is all about my habits and going through it. I'll write little comments and stuff over here. This is like how many trades I'm taking, whatever. Then after the close reflection. So these are kind of goes back to like the psychological components of journaling. But I'm asking myself, like, what did I learn today, right? What did I improve upon? In this example specifically, I talked about, I was kind of building out a better pre-market prep, like a routine. I just moved in my new apartment, and I kind of didn't have like a good routine going on. And I built a new one, and I was like, wow, this pre-market prep makes a world of the difference in how I perform. Getting a step-by-step process dials me in. I feel like I'm ready to take on the market and trade the setup as it comes to me. I truly improved today focusing on my process and seeing so much value in doing this step by step. It's going to take discipline and not to be lazy with it in order to see consistent results, but this has me in a good headspace for sure. So I'm reflecting upon the day. I'm reflecting upon my actions. I'm reflecting upon the things that I have put into place, my systems, in order to perform in the market. So I'll like talk about changes and whatnot and everything, but that's the idea, is like I'm doing this after the close reflection as well. So that is the day-to-day work I personally do. If you're not doing at least like one of these things, you guys got to do it. Because again, I've talked to so many traders that they're like, I don't journal, I don't record my habits, like I just open the charts and just get after it. I'm like, okay, well, your learning curve is going to be 10 plus years, bro. Like honestly, it's going to take that long. So it's like, this work is so, it feels tedious, but eventually it gets in the routine where it's not. And just, I promise you, it will make you a better trader. So that is the process overall of what I do. We have time for questions? Questions or anything? Questions? Cam? Good question. I think it depends. So a big part is obviously market cycles, because we go through so many different market cycles and markets change and whatnot. So you got to evaluate, like, is my setup not working, or is the market just not respecting it well enough? Do I need to look at things differently? So it's not really a set amount of time, because what I've noticed is once you build a good habit, it takes consistent work to still keep that habit, right? It's like until eventually it starts to become ingrained in you and it's almost like a non-negotiable. Great example is I used to be the king of averaging down. Oh my God, so many times I'm like, okay, well, it's down a little bit, let me add here, and now my average is here, no, I'm good. I literally haven't averaged down, I think, in over 2 years. Because I've just gotten screwed so many times doing it that it didn't serve me, it didn't serve me, it didn't serve me, and then eventually it became ingrained in who I am, where I'm like, I just don't average down. It's stupid. I'll just take the small loss and just look for a better entry. So it's not really a set amount of time. I'd say you still have to experiment with that and kind of find what works, but it's about like keeping that goal. Like it is one thing though. Focus on one thing, because when you try to do too many things process-wise, that's when it's really hard to stick to stuff. You need to focus on one thing and hammer it. Good question.
Are there any things that you've seen across the board with people, because you're doing one-on-one coaching, is it the same problems everyone is having, or is it like really specific to each trader, and how do you work with traders? Is it very individual, or are you pretty much kind of going over, like, I imagine a lot of things you just went over are things you found for yourself and everyone.
Yeah, good question. Yeah, so everyone is unique and it's personalized, because everyone does have unique things that they deal with, but you'd be surprised at how many people deal with the same shit, dude. So many of all of us do the same stupid things in trading, but some people do have certain areas dialed in another. Great example, Brian's in the room, one of my clients. He is the most disciplined client I have. He will take one trade a day, rarely will go for two, but like I can count on him 95% of the time to always take one trade and be like, that was it, move on to tomorrow. So that's ingrained in him, right? Versus I've had some other traders that are like, dude, I can't stop taking 27 trades a day. And I'm like, okay, well, let's move down to 6, Okay, let's move down to 5,
But couldn't you say, Tanner, that they're both issues, under trading and over trading? So when you look at that from a coaching perspective, you might have to coach somebody from either side of it.
Correct. Yeah, exactly. But I would never tell Brian to take more trades, because that's what's working for him.
Exactly.
It's just like the concept of a lot of people do experience the same things, but some people just have things more amplified than the others.
On that question too, we used to track trading mistakes in the Black Shirt Club, and we only had 15. And you would have to fill out in your daily report card of these 15 mistakes, which ones did you make today? I entered too early, I exited too early, I entered too late, I exited too... Like, you can break it down, and usually it was one of those 15 or 2. It was never like you had to have a write-in. So to answer your question, I think most people, we've talked about this, they make the same 5, 10, 15 mistakes.
Can I add one thing on that?
Yeah.
What is something that you've learned from coaching that maybe someone else has kind of revealed to you that you apply to your own trading? Like, what's the biggest thing? Was there something that someone did or someone made a huge breakthrough and it made click for you too?
Good question.
Great question.
Really good question. Yeah, so he said basically, like, what is one thing that I've learned from people that I have coached that I've actually taken away to apply to my own trading that has helped me? So I would say just the concept of patience. Just, I know it's such like the concept of patience at the open, at least for me, because I now am very specific what types of setups I want to take at the open. And one thing actually in this daily report card section is changes I need to make going forward / work on from today's session. I kid you not, when you start doing this exercise, you write the same fucking thing every day. And you're like, oh, okay, well, that's what I'm going to work on tomorrow, and then you do it again. Then you do it again. Then you do it again. And then all of a sudden you look and you're like, I have 17 days of me trading the first 5 minutes. What's the problem with my trading? Right there, right? So I would say just like, I learned a bunch of different things from everyone, and that is also the kind of the cool part of coaching is it's like symbiotic in that way where I'm like, oh, cool, I've learned from this or learned from that. But really seeing how many people are just eager to take trades without like being able to sit there and just be like a monk and wait. That's probably the biggest takeaway I've gotten, because I just see how many people get hurt doing it. So I'm like, and I'm naturally, I'm not like a mellow person. Like if you guys can't tell, I'm full of pre-workout and energy all the time. So it's like I'm a gunslinger naturally, dude. Like at the open comms, I'm like, let's go. 15 full.
I've been waiting 6 hours for this bitch.
I've been waiting. I've been up since London. So yeah. But good question. Good
Great question. We're gonna hold off on the rest of the questions because we're gonna move into the panel. The panel will do a lot of open Q&A. Cool. Yeah. Any other questions specific to Tanner himself? All right, cool. Give him a round of applause, everybody. Crushed it. Great job, buddy.